Do you want to create search engine friendly content to get the maximum reach and traffic? RankMath has 21 real-time SEO tests that will help you achieve that, and we score your content out of 100. So anything above 80, your content is SEO friendly, but obviously we want to get to 100 if possible so that there is no shadow of a doubt that your content is truly SEO optimized. And this video is all about helping you get to 100. Let's go. Hey, it's Jack from RankMath, the one WordPress SEO plugin that constantly strives to provide you with the fastest and the most cutting-edge SEO tools. And on this channel, we provide you with the most updated SEO knowledge to help you grow your site's traffic. So if you're new to our channel, consider subscribing. Now, one thing we have to be clear here is that it doesn't mean if you score 100 on RankMath's content analysis test, your content is sure to rank. It doesn't work that way. All the SEO tests we have is to help search engines understand your content better. The higher the score, it means the more you're following the SEO best practices. But if you want to learn how to further optimize your content from what we'll be sharing here, then we highly recommend that you watch this video. But don't go there yet. Watch this video first, it will make more sense. We have left the link in the description. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? Now, if you are a true perfectionist, the obvious route for you is to optimize the content as you write to get the most points out of the SEO score. I get it, it makes you feel good. But in my opinion, it disrupts your workflow. When you're writing content, your focus should be to produce something that is helpful to your human readers, not the search engines, and that's why optimization should be left towards the end. However, it is helpful to know the places you should put your focus keywords so that you don't have to optimize all that much towards the end. Don't worry, I'll walk you through an example. Now, before you even decide to write an article, you've got to do keyword or topic research to determine if a topic is worth writing about. If you're unsure how to determine the worthiness of a topic, we highly recommend that you check out this video about how to do keyword research for free. Alright, let's go through an example. Assuming you have done your keyword research and you have determined that it is worth your time writing an article on the topic Best Charcoal Grills. The first thing you want to do on your WordPress editor is to go to RankMath and add a focus keyword. Otherwise, RankMath wouldn't know what you're trying to optimize. Now, this focus keyword is not only for RankMath. The key for this is to let search engines know what your article is about, which is to help people find the best charcoal grills. And that's what you're trying to rank for. So we are optimizing the entire article for that keyword. Makes sense, right? I know your article won't rank for just one keyword. It will rank for a range of keywords search engines determine is relevant to their searches. And that's why we recommend that you use the content analysis test together with our content AI, which is our proprietary research tool that will analyze the article's ranking for the same keyword and tell you what other keywords you should add to your content. You could even click to copy the key phrase and paste it on the content analysis as a secondary keyword. So we can optimize your content to rank for these secondary key phrases. The primary keyword has this star icon. If you want to change the primary keyword, just drag a secondary keyword and place it first. And there you have it. Let me switch it back. As a free RankMath user, you are able to optimize up to 5 keywords. If you have RankMath Pro, you can optimize for unlimited keywords. But don't get carried away with adding as many keywords because it may do more harm than good. Just a reasonable number of keywords you want to rank for is good enough. Now you see these suggestions as I'm typing the focus keywords. If you are not seeing this, it means that you have not connected your site with your RankMath account. And to do so, on your WordPress dashboard, hover to RankMath and General Settings, click on Analytics and connect your site with RankMath. If you already have a RankMath account, feel free to log in. Otherwise, you can register for a free account. Connecting your site with RankMath, be it the free or pro account, gives you more than just the keyword suggestions. It gives you 5 free credits to Content AI and others. So feel free to do so. Now, speaking of the pro version of RankMath, you see this Google Trends icon. As you click on it, RankMath will be drawing information from Google Trends and display all the trend data for the primary and secondary focus keywords you have added. As I've mentioned in most of our videos, when you see data or graph on a particular keyword, it means there is search traffic for it. So this is a very simple and convenient way for you to validate the keywords you have added to RankMath. Next, check this out. If I add the title of the article that includes the focus keyword, but I don't add any keywords in the content analysis at all, no matter how much you write, you won't get a good score on a content analysis. But once you have included the focus keyword in the content analysis field, the score increases dramatically. That's because of two things. The focus keyword in the title of the article holds a lot of weight on how search engines understand your content. And since RankMath knows what keyword you are optimizing for, it can now do its job properly. Now, there will be instances where you get different color codes to the keywords in the field. So let me explain them. While it is great to optimize an article for more than one keyword, it poses some challenges because if all focus keywords are treated the same way, meaning all the tests are run on all the keywords here, you will probably waste a lot of time optimizing your content because it will be tough to get a good score. There are just too many variables. We acknowledge that, and that's why we have divided the tests into 4 categories. We have tests that run on all focus keywords, tests that run only on the primary focus keyword, which is the one with the star, tests that run only on the secondary focus keyword, and finally, tests that run only on the content. You see, as I click on the secondary keyword, it will have different tests as compared to the primary keyword. The tests that run on all focus keywords and the overall content will stay even when you select either the primary or secondary keywords. For example, the content length test, which runs on both the primary and secondary keywords. We will walk you through each of the tests so you know which test belongs to which group. But generally, all you need to know is that our goal is to get all the keywords here lighted up in green. And if they are not, you will know what to optimize, as they will be marked with red crosses. As you can see, there are basic SEO tests, additional SEO tests, title readability tests, and the content readability tests. And if any one of the tests in the group are not optimized, an indicator like this will show, telling you the number of failed tests. Actually, our content analysis tests are kind of straightforward and easy to understand, but let's quickly go through what you need to know about the color codes of the test. To score well on the SEO test, we've got to understand the color codes. Let's start with the overall test results. If your article scores below 50, the color code for the content analysis test will be in red, which means your article is not optimized for the keywords you have added. When you get a score between 51 to 80, you will see the content analysis test results with the yellowish orange color code. This signifies that your article has plenty of room for improvement. And anything above 80, the score will appear as green, which means your article is SEO friendly enough to be published and understood by the search engines. But still, you should try to aim for 100. Again, I've got to remind you that there is no guarantee in SEO. Our goal for these tests are to allow search engines to understand your article easier and to help improve the probability of it to rank. Even an article with a lower score can rank well if all the other factors are well optimized. So take these optimization tests as a framework or guide and not absolute answers. Let's continue. Now, in most of the tests, you will either see a fully filled green tick or a red cross. But on tests like the content length, keyword density, and the image or video presence, you will often see partially filled icons like this. Since it is a partial tick, it means you are on the right track, but it is not enough. For the sake of explanation, let's say that a test is supposed to get 5 points when you have achieved a fully filled green tick. A partially filled red tick, you are between 1 to 30%, which means you are probably only getting between 0.5 to 1.5 out of the 5 points for that test. A partially filled yellow tick means you are getting 31 to 49% of the score, which means between 1.55 to 2.45 out of the 5 points. And a partially filled green tick means you are getting between 50 to 99% of the score. And when you achieve a fully filled green tick, you are getting the full 5 points of the test. This is just for illustrative purposes. We do not have decimals on our score. So if you see partially filled ticks, you know more efforts need to be put in for the test. Take for example the image or video presence. Currently it is a fully filled red cross because there are no images or videos on the article. When I add one image, it turns to a partially filled yellow tick. And when I add 2 more images, it turns to a partial green tick. And when I add 1 more image, it turns to a fully filled green tick. It's quite easy to understand, right? Now let's move on to the pillar content. But before that, let me remove these. Alright. Technically, if you check this, you are telling RankMath that this is an evergreen piece of content that will remain relevant for years to come. And Rank Math will assist you in building contextual internal links by suggesting links to you when you create new articles. But anyway, this does not affect your SEO scores in any way, so if you want to understand more about it, you can click on this question mark to learn more about this. All our test comes with this question mark that will link you to more information. So if you're puzzled by any of these, just click on it and you will learn more about it. But if you watch this video, you won't have to read it on your own. Alright, now that we understand the basis of how Rank Math checks your content, let's actually go through each of the tests here. Let's start with the basic SEO tests. Now, many of our SEO tests checks the location of your primary focus keyword. If you have been in the SEO space for some time, you know that the presence of your primary focus keyword in the title of the page is an important ranking factor for Google and other search engines. So before you write your content, the first thing you need to do is to add a title. So this is the first test we have, and this test is only applicable to the primary focus keyword. If you have not meddled with any of the settings, by default, when you add the primary focus keyword in the title of the page like so, you would have passed the test. However, let's say that I do not include the primary focus keyword in the title, but I choose to edit through editing the snippets. As you can see, by default, the SEO title is drawing information from your post title. And in case you want to change the default settings for all your posts, let's say you only wish to have the title variable without all these others, because having, for example, the site name doesn't look nice on the search engines, you can go to Rank Math's title and meta under the post types called post, and under the single post title, you can amend the variables here. Let's remove the other variables, save changes, head back to the article, save draft, and refresh it. Click on the edit snippets, and now you will only see the title variable. Now back to the topic, we still don't have the primary focus keyword in the SEO title because we have just removed it from the post title. As I add the primary focus keyword here, let's close it, and you will see a pass on this test. But we still highly recommend that both your SEO title and the page title contain the primary focus keyword. Let's say that you want the current year to show on the search results, but you do not want the year to show on the post title. You can simply amend the SEO title through the snippets and add the current year variable so that it will look like this on search engines, while your post title will be a little different. But the focus keyword is still there on both titles. Next, as I've mentioned earlier, you want to write your content without stopping for optimization. But it is good to know where you should include your primary focus keyword. So I will write out the entire article and then I will go through where I have added the focus keyword. Alright, I've completed the article. The next basic SEO check we have is if your focus keyword is in the meta description. Again, this test is only for the primary focus keyword. Meta description simply means the description you usually see on the search results after the title. So Rank Math looks for the primary keyword in the meta description in several ways, and it is in the sequence I'm about to share. The first thing Rank Math will check for is if you have added a custom meta description through the edit snippets. As you can see, currently I did not add any description here. But if I did, whatever that is added here will be taken into consideration. If there is no meta description added, what it will do next is it will check what you have added on the post excerpt, which is under settings, post, and excerpt. If you didn't add words here, the next place it will check is what you have added on the titles and meta, under the post type, and right here. It is using the excerpt variable by default. And the excerpt variable has its own check sequence, which is first to check the post excerpt as we have mentioned. Following that, it will scan the content and find a paragraph that contains the primary focus keyword, which is what you are seeing right now. As I remove the custom meta description, you see this meta description is taking information from the paragraph it found the primary focus keyword, which is the second sentence in this case. If your primary focus keyword happened to be in the third paragraph, fourth paragraph, Rank Math will detect it. And failing these checks, if you have not used the primary focus keyword on your content, the excerpt variable will revert back to adding the first paragraph of the content as the meta description, which means you would have failed this test. So to pass this test by default, all you need to do is to add a primary focus keyword in the beginning of your article, but as long as it reads well. Otherwise, feel free to customize the SEO description through the edit snippets as it gives you more control. Anyway, The next test is to check if the focus keyword is found in the URL of the article. This is another ranking signal, by the way, and it is a test just for the primary focus keyword. Now, depending on what your permalink structure is, if it is date and name, month and name, post name, or a custom structure with a post name variable, by default when you add a new post, whatever that you type in the post title will be included in the URL when you save, draft, or publish the post. If you don't see a pass on this test, even when your title has the primary focus keyword, just remember to save the post as draft and you will see a pass on the test. Now, if you want to edit the URL of the post, just click on Settings. Under Post, you will see the URL here. Click on it and you can edit it. Alternatively, you can edit the URL through Rank Math's edit snippets as well. Just add in your primary focus keyword, and as you click away from the permalink, you will see the spaces are replaced with dashes. And this is a good SEO practice. Take note of the URL limit as well. It is best not to have an URL that is longer than 75 characters. Personally, if I see a permalink with unnecessary words like top 10 best charcoal grills in 2023, I will remove all other words and only keep the primary focus keyword. Because what if I have 15 instead of 10 charcoal grills to share in the future? And what if 2023 is over? It is not recommended to change the URL of any posts or pages after it is published. So keeping it slim and evergreen should be considered when deciding on the URL. Next, the focus keyword appears in the first 10% of the content. This is a check for the primary focus keyword again. It is rather straightforward and self-explanatory. However, there is an exception to the rule. If the content has only 300 words, Rank Math will check the entire 300 words for the primary focus keyword. But once the word count goes above 300 words, Rank Math will resume the check on the first 10% of the article. Next is the focus keyword found in the content. If you have passed the test I've mentioned earlier, you shouldn't fail on this test as they are related. This is a test that runs on all focus keywords, which means that if I add another keyword, this test will appear on the keyword as you click on it. If that particular keyword is not found in the content, this will fail. So all you need to do, if you want to rank for a particular keyword, have it in the article. Now this test also checks both the singular and the plural versions of the keyword. For example, if I add the keyword pie, but I have pies in the content, which is the plural form, it will still detect the keyword. But this feature is limited to only the English language and might not work all the time, as it uses a small word base. Now finally, in the basic SEO check is the overall content length. Google and other search engines does not explicitly say that content length is a ranking factor, but longer content usually implicates content with substance, but obviously it is still subjective, and sometimes shorter contents can rank better than longer ones. But what we can agree on is on any given topic, topical depth is more important than anything else, so usually long-form content is preferred. Hence, this is how content analysis scores your content. Anything below 600 words, you will get 0% of the score. Now, if you are an e-commerce store owner who runs your business on WooCommerce and you have Rank Math Pro, you will see this test recommending at least 200 words because product descriptions won't usually reach 600 words. There are other dedicated SEO tests for WooCommerce products, so if you're interested to learn more about them, the video is popping up at the top right corner. Anyway, if your content is between 600 to 1000 words, you will get 20% of the score. Assuming the maximum score for this test is 10 to be added to the overall SEO score, you will only get 2 out of the 10. Between 1000 to 1500 words, you will get 40%. And anything above 2500 words, you will get 100% of the score. Now, because we know every topic is different, not all topics require 2500 words. So we recommend that you use our content AI to analyze your topic, as it will give you a range on the content length. As long as the analyzed keyword and the focus keyword on the content analysis are using the same letter casing, the content analysis test will take information from content AI. The scoring system we have talked about earlier is nullified. So in this case, if the content length falls below half the upper bound range, which means half of 2403, which is at 1202, if the word count of your content is above 1202 but below the lower bound range, you will get a partial yellow tick. and anything below that, you will get a few red cross. However, if the content fall within the range, you will get a partial green tick. But if it goes above the range, as you can see here, the upper bound of the range is 2403. If you go above it, you will get a few green tick. So to get a full score for this test, go above the upper bound of the recommended range. So if you have passed all the basic SEO checks, your overall score should be at least 50. It is not that hard to achieve, am I right? Now let's talk about the additional SEO tests. The additional SEO section gives more actionable tips to optimize your posts. We have placed these tips in the additional SEO test section because they don't have as big of an impact as the basic SEO tests. Think of the basic SEO test as the base of a pizza and the additional SEO tests as the toppings. There is no pizza without the base, and the pizza isn't as good without the toppings. The bottom line is, you should use both the basic and additional SEO tests for the most SEO impact. Now, this is the first test in the additional SEO section. This check is for all the primary and secondary keywords, meaning if any one of these focus keywords here appears in the subheadings of the content, be it H2, H3, or H4, you would have passed this test. But don't force it. You want to naturally incorporate the keywords in the headings instead of stuffing them just for the sake of it. Having your focus keyword on the subheadings is an often ignored on-page optimization, and it is important for many reasons. Not only does including keywords in headings bring relevancy, it may also help achieve site links in the search results, which are quick links that appear below the meta description. In this case, I've added a secondary keyword here as the H2, and I've also added the primary focus keyword as an H2 heading as well. And I will use H3 heading tags for each of the products I'm recommending. Next, the test checks if your focus keyword is found in the alt text of an image. This test applies to only the primary focus keyword, and both the singular and plural version of the keyword are considered in the test. Having an alt text in your images is a good SEO practice because in case your images don't load, the alt text will describe what the image is about. And with an alt text, Google and other search engines may rank your images on their image tab if your alt text and image matches the search term, which leads to more traffic. When you add an image to your article, on the settings of the image, you'll be able to add the alt text here. But it is easy to forget this step because the settings won't usually appear when you are on the Rank Math's content analysis. So to avoid that, on your WordPress dashboard, you want to go to Rank Math's general settings. Under images, you want to toggle the add missing alt attributes on. And since by default the file name variable is applied, as you save changes, head back to your article, save draft and refresh the page. Before you add an image, you want to make sure that the file name is optimized in a way that describes the image. But for the most important image of your article, say the featured image, it would make sense that you have a file name that includes the primary focus keyword. So when you add that image to the article, you will see that you have passed the test, even when you have not added the alt text manually. It is as simple as that. Next, we have the keyword density. And yes, keyword density is becoming less important, but optimizing it still brings benefits as it gives more context to the search engines. However, it cannot be overdone. We think that a keyword density of between 1 to 1.5% of your overall content length is just nice. And you will get a green field tick. If you go above 2.5%, you will get a warning. When you use Content AI like in this example, the content analysis will sync with the first keyword suggested by Content AI. It is recommending 17 of the primary focus keywords here, and if you want to get a full green tick on the content analysis for this test, the primary focus keyword needs to appear 17 times on the article. But there is a workaround for this test. This test takes into consideration the total count of all the primary and secondary keywords added here. So since we want to consider the singular form of this keyword, we can add best charcoal grill as a secondary keyword, and now it appears 5 times instead of 4. And then we want to try to rank for charcoal grill as well. So let's add charcoal grill as a secondary keyword, and now we have passed the test. Now, if you really think that this is not a test you want in your content analysis, you can remove it. Visit this page, follow the steps, go to the Disable Keyword Density test, and add this code to either your functions.php or the rankmath.php file. This is the link to the page. Feel free to visit it. Link in the description as well. Next, we have the URL length test. Shorter URLs usually look better from a user's perspective, and it is easier to share with others. Remember when we optimized the focus keyword in the URL? There was a check to see if the URL is above 75 characters. This is what the URL length test is about. The character count includes the domain name. So the longer your domain name, it leaves less room for the URL optimization. Anything below 75 characters, your article will pass the test. However, the caveat is, if your domain name is long and you have removed all the unnecessary words and it still goes above 75 characters, feel free to ignore this test. Next, we have the external link check. It is always a good SEO practice to have a DoFollow link to external sources, but make sure that the page you are linking to is credible. If the page is credible, usually search engines will already understood what the page is about. And because you are linking to it, now the search engines will understand that your content is talking about something related to the page you are linking to. So it does have benefits for linking to external sources, but how do you know if a page is credible? If the content is from a high authority site that everyone knows, that's an indicator of high quality, or you can also utilize Content AI. On Content AI, as you click on links, you will get some external link suggestions. All the links that appear here are credible sources. Now you see this external link count? This is synced with the content analysis. If the recommended external link count is 0, the test on the content analysis will be hidden. Also, take note that we have this no follow external links option in the Rank Math's general settings under links. We recommend not to toggle this on since you are already picky about who you're linking to. But if you choose to turn this option on, then at any time you want to add an external link and turn it into a DoFollow, you can paste the domain of the external site in this no follow exclude domains field. For me personally, I will toggle this off since I'm really picky with who I'm linking out to. Next, we have the internal links check, and similarly, this is synced with the Content AI link count suggestion. If the recommendation is 0, which is highly unlikely, the test on content analysis will be hidden. As you probably know, having internal links on your articles brings lots of benefits. You can build contextual links and create a silo structure with it so that it is easier for Google and other search engines to understand what your content is about. If you want to know what a silo structure is and how it can benefit your site, feel free to check out the video that is popping up at the top right. The link is in the description. So to pass this test, all you need to do is to add an internal link on the article. But make sure that the anchor text, which is the text you're adding the link to, is relevant to the content of the page you are linking to. If the link is pointing to a page on a subdomain, it qualifies as well. Now the next test we have is the uniqueness of the primary focus keyword. As you know, search engines hate duplicate content, and it won't rank 2 articles that target the same keyword, and that's what this test is about. If you have targeted the same primary keyword before on other articles, you will see a fail on this test. And to be honest, if this test fails, you shouldn't even write this piece of content. Instead, you should focus on optimizing the existing content targeting the same keyword. Now let's say that I publish this page, and I create a new page that targets the same primary focus keyword. You will see a fail on this test, and it totally makes sense that I do not continue with this article. Go back to the original and work on it. It's hard to fail on this test for new sites, but for a larger site, this test is going to be super helpful. Next, we have the Content AI check. If you have optimized the primary focus keyword with Content AI as I've shown you, you should have a pass on this test. However, if you don't intend to use Content AI on any of your posts, you can remove it, just like what I've shown you in the keyword density test. Go to Disable Content AI test and add this code to your functions.php or rankmath.php file. Anyway, if you would have passed all the additional and basic SEO tests, you should have gotten at least an 81 on the score. Now, let's go to the next category of tests. Now, as the name suggests, all these tests here are related to the SEO title of your article. It is important because it is known that a well-optimized title generates more clicks. And when more people click on your content, they find your content helpful to them, the higher the search rankings will be. So let's go through the first title readability test. We recommend having your primary focus keyword at the start of your SEO title, as search engines slightly favor it. So assuming your SEO title follows the same as the post title, and if we add the ultimate guide to the best charcoal grills, you would have failed the test because what we check is if the primary focus keyword, which is the best barbecue grills, is in the first 50% of the title. So instead of the ultimate guide at the front, you may want to move it to the back. Say best charcoal grills, the ultimate guide, and you will pass the test. Next, we have the positive and negative sentiment. Titles that evoke emotions, be it positive or negative, will usually get more clicks. But beware of adding clickbaity words to your title because when your content under-delivers, it will do more harm than good. If your content is, for example, listing all the best top-end charcoal grills that cost more than $1,000, do not add something like the cheapest and the best charcoal grills anyone can afford in 2023. Yes, you would have passed the test, but do you see the disparity here? It's talking about cheap charcoal grills, but you're recommending expensive grills? Will the person who visited your page leave immediately because all the grills you recommend are so expensive? Absolutely. So don't do that. Other than that, to pass this test, RankMath checks your title through a list of emotion-evoking words, which can be found when you click through this question mark. I'll mention it again. All these question marks will lead you to learn more about each test. So if you don't understand what a test is about, feel free to read the related knowledge base article. And since we are on the support topic, do remember to join our Facebook group that has over 50,000 members. We are all about helping you and each other out on any questions related to SEO. The link is in the description. I digress. Now as you click through the question mark, you will see two links, the positive word list and the negative words list. If RankMath finds any of the words in either the list on your title, you would have passed the test. So if you fail this test, feel free to visit the list and pick up some words to add to your title. Pretty sure you'll find one. Back to the article, the next test is to check if the title contains a power word. And similarly, we have a list of words for you. Click through the question mark, visit the link, and right below, you will see a list of power words. It includes English, German, Indonesian, Dutch, and Swedish. So feel free to check out the list of power words and include it to your title. For my case, best and ultimate are the power words. Finally, RankMath checks if your title has a number. It is proven that titles with numbers get more clicks on the search results. This trick was popular for some time and it still stands. Think about it. If you see best charcoal grills, the ultimate guide, as compared to 5 best charcoal grills, the ultimate guide, which has the higher tendency for you to click? For me, it will be the one with the number because it is more specific. I'm expecting to have 5 recommendations. Who knows, there may be 100 grill recommendations on the other article that doesn't have the number, which is not what I'm looking for. You see the psychological effect of having a number? So since this article has 5 recommendations, I'll just add 5 to the title and it will pass the test. You see, we are inching closer to 100 on the SEO score. Now, this group of tests checks the overall presentation of your article. It is what keeps the attention of your readers other than the content itself. If your article contains only words and they are in a huge chunk, it is super hard and dry to read. No matter how good your content is, people will just leave. And that's why we have these checks. The first is the use of a table of contents plugin. Now, a table of contents is super useful for articles that are longer than 2,000 words because it allows your readers to easily find the information they are looking for. On top of that, your article may get a jump to link markup on the search results. This massively improves your click-through rate. But just take note that the jump to link is awarded on Google's discretion and there is no specific way to optimize for it. Now, if RankMath detects any of these plugins installed, you would have passed this test. We don't check if your post actually has a table of contents. If you are using a table of contents plugins that is not on the list, feel free to ask the plugin or theme developer to add this filter to their product so that RankMath can detect it, and you will pass the test. If they do that, we'll be happy to include their plugin in our compatibility list. However, if you're manually adding a hard-coded table of contents, feel free to disable the test in the same way I've mentioned earlier. But honestly, if you are using RankMath, don't hard-code your table of contents any longer because we have a table of contents block for you. Once you add it to your article, you will pass this test. For more information on how to use RankMath's table of contents block, check out the video that is popping up at the top right. Now, the next test is to see if you have used short paragraphs. As I've shown you earlier, if your text is in a chunk, it is difficult for anyone to read. So RankMath analyzes your content, and if it finds that one or more paragraphs are with more than 120 words, your article will fail this test. For a visual scan on your own, if any of your paragraphs have more than 5 sentences, you want to break them up into 2 paragraphs, and that would solve the problem. And finally, it is the test on whether your article uses images and videos. Why should you use them? There are several studies that says humans retain 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear, 70% of what they say and write, and 90% of what they do. So it is super important to add media files to your article so that your readers will retain what they see and hear in your article much longer. Also, it breaks up your text further and it keeps your readers more engaged. So to pass this test, all you need to do is to add at least 4 images or videos to your article. That's it. And if you use Content AI like I did, if the result did not suggest adding images or videos, this test will be hidden. So once you have passed all these tests with fully filled green check marks, you will score 100 out of 100 on your SEO score. And I need to say this again like a broken record. Scoring full marks doesn't guarantee that your content will rank well. Ranking on search engines is determined by hundreds, if not thousands of factors. And if you want to learn more about further optimizing your content, I highly recommend that you watch this video we have talked about. The link is in the description. So now you have the knowledge to get your content to score 100. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button, and we truly hope that your article will rank well and get tons of traffic. If you want more SEO tips, feel free to subscribe to our channel so that you won't miss out on anything. This is Jack from RankMath. Stay awesome. Looking forward to seeing you again.